Please take a seat down. Raksha Mantri ji, I'm going to request you to please stay on because we're ready to move on and begin our next section. Maria Shakil, our political editor, senior News 18, joins us for Rajniti with Raksha Mantri Nirmala Sitharaman ji.
Thank you so much for coming here, ma'am. बहुत सारे ख्याल आपके दिमाग में आ रहे होंगे. Your first thought.
It's very difficult. These sort of occasions are very, very difficult to put in words. It's very heart-wrenching. These kind of sacrifices cannot be quantified in any words. The families are going to live with it. Some of them I've met. I can only say that we are very fortunate. We live in a country which is very, very fortunate to have such brave sons. We're very fortunate.
Over the last few weeks, you have been meeting families regularly. We have seen those images in which you have been very overwhelmed when you met them. Do you think a grateful nation, what can we do really?
I'm not sure whatever we do is going to be sufficient, but we can never afford to forget. We can never afford to forget any of the families which have come here. And not just the ministries concerned, Home Ministry or the Defense Ministry, but I think as citizens, each one of us will have to, as many times, remember these families because they've just stood up to the occasion. Their tears are never going to dry. And it was, after all, for our country.
Ma'am, you are India's first woman full-time defense minister. Of course, Indira Gandhi had held an additional charge. How has your experience been as Raksha Mantri?
It's very difficult, again, to express. It's been, I'm very fortunate, I would say, to be able to be in this position. It has its own, it has everything in it, in the sense, like they say, that when you have emotions, there are about 9 different that you can identify. Every such emotion is involved when you're dealing with the Raksha Mantralaya. So, whilst your bravery for the soldiers and their bravery that you can talk about, it also means a lot more in terms of compassion, in terms of understanding, in terms of empathy. So I don't think any other experience in my life would make me feel that one has to strive constantly to be a better human being. This position makes you feel that.
There are 2 women ministers in the CCS. Should we be looking at this from the prism of gender at all, or is it about competence?
I can't escape when people look at it from the point of view of gender. But yes, I don't know if I'm competent as many other people who've held this position, male also. But I suppose eventually it is a responsibility which you have to do with full, commitment. And being conscious every minute that you're holding a position which matters in so many different ways to so many different people and eventually to the country also. So I think being there fully is more important. And my gender shouldn't matter there.
Is this an indication that other male bastion ministries, such as Home and Finance, it's only a matter of time that we'll see women ministers there?
I think so too. There's just no line that has to be kept up. There's no need for this cannot be held by women kind of a thing. I suppose any ministry can be held by male or female. And if you ask me, women and child welfare also need not be reserved for women only.
Yes, I was about to ask you that question, that you think the time has come also to break that notion that even a man can hold charge of Women and Child Development Ministry?
I think so, because when you never gave anything for women, you at least had to give women and child welfare. But if you are able to find women who can occupy other positions, I suppose it will have a greater parity if men also can be there and do justice to women. So, why not?
To your critics who say that as defense minister, the larger responsibility has been shared by the PMO, and hence your role has been that of a figurehead.
Well, I'm not sure if they really know what is happening in the ministry to conclude like that. And if anything, I think that's complete prejudice, ill-informed prejudice. I would want to ask them if they would dare say this if there was a man in this position. They wouldn't. It's easy to knock at a woman who's sitting there and say, no, it's already been taken up by the PM, so she's just there for naam ke vaste. I would like to know if there have been naam ke vaste male defense ministers. One. And the second side of it, this Prime Minister is the first among equals. He would definitely like to have a lot more understanding of each of the ministries. So if there is a Prime Minister who's hands-on with everything which is happening and also steers to help the ministries move forward with the set agenda, what is wrong with it? If you've had Prime Ministers who didn't care about the ministries but who was also a Prime Minister, good luck to you. But here is a Prime Minister who wants to understand every ministry and deliver the promises with the minister in place and with the ministers working. So what's the problem you have?
Ma'am, you had said that there is no relationship between the airstrike and elections, but increasingly we are seeing that the BJP leaders are claiming credit for the aerial strikes.
BJP leaders are taking credit for what? For a decisive leadership, which, when the need arises, doesn't sit back wondering what will the globe tell us, what will happen to any repercussions or fallout, what will be the collateral damage. All these considered, we have a leadership which takes the call. So in case if BJP wants to take credit, what's wrong? It's for the sake of the country. Here is a leadership, here is a party, here's a government which has put the country's priority on top of the agenda. It has not played politics for the sake of anything else. So would you say in 1975? When Pokhran happened, Mrs. Indira Gandhi did it for the sake of votes and she didn't do it for strengthening India? I think these convoluted arguments, if they are in power, it's one thing. If somebody else is in power, oh my God, I don't want to give the credit, is now seen through by the people.
But Pakistan being invoked in every election speech, is it about generating fear, that there is an enemy such as Pakistan? Or is it more about instilling confidence in Prime Minister's leadership?
It's more about saying without fear or hesitation or some reservations in your mind that there is a neighbor who's just there, who's constantly encouraging terrorists who seem to enter this country and do all kinds of dangerous things. It is naming them instead of saying some country across the border, which is what we've been hearing in this country, across the border. Who's across the border? Why can't we say it? Very clearly, we have evidence to show that terrorist camps are there. So today, that culture of across the border languages very clearly saying, it is Pakistan. You have the facts, why not say it? What is this whole wishy-washiness about it?
You have set a new template in dealing with your neighbor, Pakistan.
With Pakistan.
With Pakistan.
There,
in
it gets into a system so much, it's even within a minute, Maria is not able to get out of that.
2016 surgical strikes, 2019 aerial strikes. You have set a new template. I'm trying to understand, but this hasn't really acted as a deterrent.
Well, you have a, for want of a better word, you have a habitual someone who breaks the law or international understanding with impunity, a habitual breaker of law, that is Pakistan, repeatedly uses non-state actors to propagate violence, distances itself saying, we've not done it, our men in uniform have not done it. But that has been supported by the men in uniform in Pakistan is now globally known. So, for a country which repeatedly violates international norms of bilateral relationship or border, interstate border related matters, you have a fact before you. So by repeatedly naming them and repeatedly isolating them in international fora, we are only telling Pakistan, sorry, we are not any longer going to sit and watch you. Fail in your own promise. Every incident has seen Pakistan say, no, 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 we'll take care of it, give us the proof, we'll make sure such things don't happen, but we don't have any camps. You give the proof, you wait, they don't act. Haven't you seen that happening repeatedly? Even this time in Pulwama. The group which has done it sits in Pakistan and claims it. But Pakistan's government says, no, it's not us. So, by repeatedly naming and also isolating them in the international fora, you're only making it obvious.
You had said that Bofors brought Congress down, Rafale will bring Modi back. But increasingly, in electoral discourse, Rafale is not being discussed. It is about Mabi Chaukidar.
Which is very clearly that Rafale was not a corrupt case at all, which was that Rafale was being whipped up for false propaganda and for fakery, which means Rafale, from the beginning, they knew was nothing at all which will rise as an allegation. And therefore, now with Supreme Court, CAG, Parliament, everybody having answered it, it's died down. Not a natural course. They would have appeared to be absolutely foolish if they kept talking about it. So they've now moved over to talk about Chaukidar.
Talking about Mabi Chaukidar, since you have come from that event that was held of the Prime Minister, that Mabi Chaukidar, the opposition says that that is what the government has given to the country. That you are trying to talk about nationalism, national security, not as much as important issues such as jobs. You have been a commerce minister yourself, ma'am.
Yes, and I think they are partly right. That's what we've given this country, is to make every citizen feel that each one of us are a Chaukidar to the national resources. We shall not allow people to loot national resources. We shall not allow people take taxpayers' money with impunity and sit with it. We shall, each one of us, perform with such honesty that this country's natural resources or the taxpayers' money will be spent on the right thing. So like the Prime Minister rightly said today, Chaukidar is not that each one of us wear a topi, have a lathi in a hand and blow the whistle with a badge or something. It's more the spirit that all of us are trustees of this country's property. We may as well behave like one. We have to take care of it rather than loot it. That's the spirit which the Prime Minister is pushing ahead in this campaign. And all of us are extremely proud to associate ourselves with it. For the first time in this country, we have given a totally corruption-free government. And therefore, living up to the promise that we've given. We will give a clean administration. So that's what has been given. And that is why it is important.
But Rahul Gandhi says that Prime Minister is Chaukidar of rich Indians who fled the country.
Rahul Gandhi has also been calling the Prime Minister a chore. And I do not want to miss even one occasion to say two things each time he says this. Each time he calls the Prime Minister a chore, Chaukidar chore hai, when he says that, I want each one of us to remember two things. One, he has till today not shown any worthy proof to say what wrongdoing the Prime Minister has done, but goes on calling him Chaukidar chore hai. And who is this? Who himself is out on bail. Out on bail, not on a political matter. You know, sometimes when you protest, political disturbance happens, and therefore the government in power, which is, let us say, assume on a different political platform, arrests you, puts inside for a protest. 144 section is in place. You're not supposed to go and do protest, but you protested. Therefore, you were arrested. That's a different thing. Arrested and given out on bail, that's a totally different thing. Here, and I wish Maria, and I wish many senior colleagues of yours from this very eminent channel, if ever, like the way you have now with me, have a conversation with the Congress President. Please ask him,
Yes.
what is it that you're out on bail on? What's the offense? Then you'll know the offense is exploiting and misusing public money to move to whatever the allegation says, into his own trust or whatever. In other words, financial misconduct. And he is calling somebody a chore on whom there's not even an FIR. Not today, since the time he's been in public life. Sheer audacity and brazenness.
Chaukidar stole the jobs of people. That's what he says.
He says Chaukidar gave 30,000 to some particular individual. Please give us proof. Show us something initially. So Kahani, you go on saying, thinking that people will listen to you, is proven completely wrong. And I don't know whoever is advising the Congress President, he's not doing them, they are not doing a favor to Congress President. It's just not done. A responsible party's president, I would have thought, will do a lot more homework before he talks.
But the question of jobs, since
Yes,
you have
jobs.
been the commerce minister.
Absolutely. On jobs, I think there's been a lot of debate, some of which is very important for us to understand. It's not just today. This country never collected data on anything other than formal jobs, organized sector jobs. And that itself is a limitation. Not more than 12 to 15%. I'm not sure whether it is 12 or 15%, but not more than 20% of the entire country is in formal sector. What happens to the rest 80%? We don't even have any data. In the 80%, if you've increased the numbers by providing them with a lot of finance, credit without security being taken like the mudra roll, how do you account for that? How do you take that on board? If sectoral growth is also monitored, you'll know a lot of people now don't go in for jobs, but they take up entrepreneurship. In that, if we count it, I'm not sure if we are constantly right
But
when we
Nirmala
say jobs have come down.
But Nirmala ji, if the government is sure that there have been alternate avenues created, then shouldn't that data come out in the public domain to counter this?
You're right. Isn't that what is coming out when you say the total number of people who have taken mudra loan? How much have they taken? And even if they don't employ anybody, they themselves are working. But for the amounts that they take and to run their own business, they will have at least 1 or 2 people more employed under them. Are these not jobs?
What about Nyay? That is something that the reports are suggesting is getting traction on ground. How is the BJP planning to counter it?
The traction is because rightly in the media you want to give level playing field. You know, the Prime Minister is announcing so many schemes. So we should be fair to give the false equivalents. Give something even for the opposition. They are saying something is being propped up. So give them space and give them the traction.
But
Please do ask them. Please do ask them.
6,000 rupees per annum announced by you for the farmers versus 6,000 per month that has been announced. That's the way Congress is projecting. Minimum income guarantee.
Yeah. Congress will project everything. Garibi Hatao 1971, projected by Congress, failed by Congress. After that, every Prime Minister from that particular DNA, the Congress Parivar DNA, which I incidentally was shocked to hear, a very senior leader from the Congress party saying, first family of the country. I don't know how many of us want the first family here, how many of them consider them as a first family, but first family it is, and that's being imposed on all of us. So the first families, members, beginning from Mrs. Indira Gandhi, till the Nyay scheme, poverty is the pet theme. Not to eradicate it, keep the number of poor the same, but allot money, which can go, like today the Prime Minister correctly said, he believes in direct benefit transfer. but the Congress party was running direct dalali transfer. So if direct transfers were happening, it was for the dalals. And as a result, poverty has not been reduced. Let me just take this conversation to one particular claim which the Congress party made. 2014, when the new government came, the Congress claimed, actually the real poverty levels have been brought down by us. Not really very many people are poor now because real poverty has come down. Didn't they claim this? And if they've really claimed it, if they had this Garibi Hatao and they did so much, why do they have to come up with a Nyay scheme? They shouldn't. You don't need it. We've eradicated poverty, yeah? So why do I need a Nyay? One. And 6,000 versus 6,000, it's the same thing like in Rafael. My 560 versus your 1,600 kind of number, playing up numbers convenient. 6,000 given to the farmer is over and above, just for the farmer, many other things. Irrigation subsidy, methods for doubling his income, MSP, which is increased for each of the crop, more crops coming under MSP. All this will also have to be calculated. And tell me if that is just 6,000 or more.
But ma'am, if it is about poll SOPs being announced, pre-poll SOPs, let's not forget that
pre-poll.
This is your bastion in Chhattisgarh fell because of the promise that was made by Rahul Gandhi.
I'm not sure if that's the way I look at it.
One of the reasons.
Well, I'm not sure if I look at it that way at all. After all, Raman Singh ji has run the government there uninterrupted for a very long time, and best of services, inclusive of the distribution of food grains for the poor, had all happened during his tenure. And then, after, say, 10, 15 years, there's always a time when people do want a change. I will not attribute it to any one thing. It could just be a fatigue, as a result of which they changed the government. Now, let's see the Lok Sabha results. You'll see it.
Okay, since you are the face of the BJP in South, the decision that has been taken by the Congress party and the Congress president today about him being fielded from another constituency, and that is Wayanad.
I think I can't comment on it. He's got every right to go any number of places and contest as long as the Election Commission permits. I think 2 is allowed, so he chooses a second. But very clearly it tells me one thing. If you've been the member of parliament for a particular constituency, in this case it's Amethi, and you've served it very well, is there a need for you to look for a second?
It's Amethi plus.
And second. I'm not saying you're leaving Amethi. I'm still saying second. And again, like in many ways, many different ways, the media plays a very fair game, bring a false equivalence immediately to say, but Modi ji, came to Varanasi, contesting in Gujarat, but also came out. He was never in Varanasi before. He was never in the parliament before. The first time he chose to come to parliament, he didn't want to let go his own state, so he was there. And also because he was going to have to contest from the point of view, because at that time, what was the argument? Oh, Gujarat might accept him, the rest of the country may not. He proved that the rest of the country also will accept him. So he came out and proved. Now, but you have been in your constituency for 3 terms or 4 terms. Why would you want a second constituency? You, after all, proving yourself in the constituency in which you already been in the parliament. So this false comparison, looking for a second seat, no one questions his right, he can always choose. But to compare it with Modi ji, I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
Wayanad is the tri-junction of Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala, and hence symbolic of South India. The Congress is looking at expanding its footprints there. That is the argument.
Good luck to them, with Prakash Karat already having said, we will fight to defeat him.
Will we be seeing Prime Minister also choose another constituency to contest?
Well, I'm not the authorized person to speak about that.
Ma'am, talking specifically about your ministry, there are some questions here. There has been a sense of letdown in case of Major Akshay Girish being denied the Shaurya Chakra. Can you elaborate on that?
I first will have to put a disclaimer before I give an answer. It's the Army's well laid out system which looks at what award to be given to whom. I fully recognize here the individual that we are talking about has made a supreme sacrifice. He's laid his life for the sake of the country. But the protocol with which the Army looks at who's got to be given which award is something which they do on their own. The Raksha Mantri has no role to play in it. As regards the mother of the martyr, she'd met me twice, well after his name was made a part of the dispatches. Yes. And I readily agreed to have a request made to the Army, I underline request made to the Army, to review it if there is a need. And I was even then told that there is no review mechanism for these sort of things. The decision once taken stands. But I did request the Army Chief. In fact, Army Chief was present in the meeting, in one of the meetings where the martyr's mother met me. I had even suggested to her so that she has an opportunity to mention the names of people who could also become a part of this committee which will review. She very graciously agreed and gave the names of people who she wanted in the committee. The committee included them. The committee once again reviewed the situation and requested the mother of the martyr to, if she chooses to appear before the committee so that she can put across her facts. All these processes have been fully followed, complied with, and the Army's committee, which included the names that she had suggested, have gone through the whole process and finalized their report, which, because of Army's rules, is never copied, the report is never circulated, but the report is shown to the martyr's mother by some officer taking it and showing it to her. A formal letter has also been given.
Ma'am, in the context of non-functional upgrade, the fact is that it is given to Group A officers, including IPS, IAS, IFS, more than 50 other groups. But why is it being termed bad as far as armed forces are concerned when the civilian bureaucracy, it's all right? I'm just trying to say, is the government tilting towards the view of the bureaucrats more than the armed forces?
I don't think at all. At least as long as I'm monitoring it, I can tell you. And the matter is in the court. It's a very, very sensitive matter. The immediate comparison with bureaucrats are getting it, we are not getting it, I really don't want to get into this. And let me take this opportunity to say that the advocate who appeared on behalf of the government was probably misunderstood because he read some things out of one of the reports which had been given to him. And that has been taken as, oh my God, he's read things saying these people are living in bungalows, so they shouldn't be given NFU and things like that. I think all of us will have to hold a bit of our balance. I would only want to request everyone in this matter to wait for the court to take a call. The government is not averse to giving this, but we'll have to look at the details of how, armed forces are fully in consultation with us. It's not as if the Ministry of Defense is dealing with this only with the bureaucrats' inputs and not with the armed forces' inputs.
Ma'am, there are different versions emerging on the issue of Mi-17 crash on 27th of February in Budgam. One version is that it is a case of friendly fire. What is the MOD's opinion?
I don't think I'll want to give an opinion, even if I have one in public here. These are things which the armed forces themselves will disclose at some time.
Ma'am, you're concentrating largely on South India. There is an alliance that has been forged in Tamil Nadu. But don't you think that it weighs heavily against the rainbow coalition that you have worked out?
Maria, but what gives you the feeling that I'm concentrating on the south? I was in
A
Gurgaon
lot.
this morning. I went over to Karnataka. Then I also went over to, parts of Rajasthan. I keep moving everywhere. I don't particularly
But
concentrate
talking about
on...
Tamil Nadu in particular, the
Oh,
rainbow
no,
coalition.
I'm not even. I'm concentrating on Delhi. I am the Prabari for Delhi for the Lok Sabha election.
Will we be seeing you contest these elections?
No.
That's very clear. Last question to you, and this is a question that we ask politicians because what's your assessment for 23rd?
Well, didn't you quote me by saying, you said when you talked about Rafael, that Bofors brought them down, Rafael will bring them back, bring us back. Rafael will bring us back. Rafael, together with many other things that has been done in the last 5 years, will bring us back. Modi will become Prime Minister again in 2019.
Nirmala Sitharaman, thank you so much for your time here. Thank you.
Round of applause for Raksha Mantri Nirmala Sitharaman. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Nirmala ji, Maria, thanks.